Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and I'm just going to jump right on into this one because what came out today is downright pathetic. It is sad, it is embarrassing, it's an insult to the community and to the player base as a whole, and quite frankly, I'm at the point where I just want my money back. Like, what are they actually thinking here? So, what I'm talking about is Battlefield 6, the biggest video game launch in years, has obviously fallen off a cliff. We all know that. It dropped out of the top 10 on both Xbox and PlayStation. It fell below Call of Duty on Steam, which is really freaking hard to do, and as you guys might remember, it's the same game where they delayed Season 2 after a monumentally disappointing Season 1 because they wanted to refine things and make sure the update was as good as possible, right? We all kind of thought, okay, they're delaying it, that's really freaking bad, but if they deliver, it may not be so horrible, right? Well, today they put out a full article over on Twitter outlining what will be coming with Season 2 now that it's a month late, and they essentially reveal that the entire season will only have 2 multiplayer maps and 3 weapons being added to the game. That is freaking it, guys. That is freaking all. They delayed the entire season over a month just to announce that we are getting 2 multiplayer maps, which has easily been the biggest point of criticism and the biggest point of feedback for the game since the beta, and they just don't really seem to care, man. They don't care whatsoever. They only added 2 multiplayer maps in Season 1, mind you. So when this update drops, it will be over 4 months into the game's life cycle, and they will have only added 3 maps to the game total, with 1 more map coming out later on in Season 2. That is freaking horrible. That is embarrassing. That is downright pathetic. It's an outright slap in the face to the entire Battlefield community and the entire player base as a whole, and they wonder why. They're sitting there in their offices right now, probably still working off the hangover from launch when they were the biggest game in the past 3 years. They gotta be sitting there looking at the metrics, watching everything go down, just thinking to themselves, well, what are we doing wrong? We just can't figure it out. The players don't know what they want, and it's very clear that the players know exactly what they want. It's clear to me anyway that DICE and EA have no idea how to run Battlefield as a proper live service game, because just like everything else out there, they decided they wanted the game to be kind of like Fortnite. They wanted to be like Call of Duty. In fact, they really wanted Battlefield 6 to be like Call of Duty. Look at these side-by-side comparisons here. Like, they basically just ripped off whole cloth everything from MW2 and just put it into Battlefield 6. But regardless, in the process of them trying to be a live service game, they decided they wanted to cut costs and try to deliver as few updates as possible for as cheap as possible. That's like their entire freaking game plan. And some of you might remember, I talked about this a number of times over the years, but before Black Ops 7 came out, you guys might remember me discussing how in the Call of Duty franchise, in a lot of ways, paid map packs were actually a bit better than the free updates that we get in terms of both quality as well as quantity. Now, obviously, with the map packs, there were tons of downsides. You had to pay for extra content in a full-priced game. Map packs would obviously split up the community and the player base. Oftentimes, DLC maps were really difficult to play because you had to find other people to play with and against that had the same DLC as you. It was a giant headache. You know, for example, let's say you bought DLC 1 and DLC 3, but you didn't have 2 and 4. Well, that really limits the amount of people they can matchmake you with in terms of the map pool and everything. It was a giant headache, and I'm glad it's gone, but the point still remains here. What we used to get in terms of quality and quantity with map packs is infinitely better than how these studios are trying to run the live service model today. Take Battlefield 4, for example, right? I think everyone can collectively agree that Battlefield 4 was awesome. Well, in 1 year's time, when that game came out, they dropped 5 DLC packs, right? China Rising had 4 maps, 5 guns, 2 gadgets, and 2 vehicles. Second Assault came out after that with 4 multiplayer map remasters, 5 guns, and 2 vehicles. Naval Strike added 4 maps, 5 weapons, 2 gadgets, and a bunch of new vehicles. Dragon's Teeth also had 4 maps, 5 guns, and 2 gadgets. Then the final DLC, Final Stand, they added 4 maps, 2 weapons, a bunch of attachments and gadgets and vehicles and things like that. So in 1 year's time, Battlefield 4's post-launch saw 20 maps being added, over 20 weapons being added, along with countless vehicles and gadgets and attachments and progression and everything else, right? That was in 1 year's time. And for context here, after Season 2 is all said and done for Battlefield 6, we will be, ironically, 6 months post-launch of the game coming out, and all they will have added is 4 maps and like 5 or 6 guns. Like, that's literally it. Just like slicing things down the middle here. In 6 months, Battlefield 4 would have dropped 10 maps and like 11 guns, whereas Battlefield 6 is dropping 4 maps and like 5 guns. And hell, even going back to Battlefield 3, the first DLC pack for that game, dropped 4 maps, 10 guns, and 4 vehicles. Like, there's no comparison here, man. The old games were objectively better in terms of post-launch support, but that was also because we were paying for map packs and we were paying for premium back then. DICE and EA have sold themselves out here. They figure if we're not going to pay extra for DLC maps, we're not going to get basically shit in terms of post-launch support, and it's so mind-blowing to me because we have so many more developers, so much more money, a way bigger budget, way more technology and everything, and yet we're getting a worse product than something that came out like 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, a quick quick Google search here will reveal that they somehow spent $400 million developing Battlefield 6, and this is all we get in terms of a post-launch. Make it make sense here, guys. Battlefield 4, for comparison, by the way, was made for $100 million, 1/4 the cost, and it had infinitely more content, and frankly, it was a better game all around. I do like 6, don't get me wrong, but like so many others, I am just burnt out right now, man. I am fed up. I am angry with this game. I am over these greedy-ass corporations thinking they can just get by with the bare minimum. It's an insult to the community, and frankly, it's an insult to our collective intelligence as well. Now, thankfully, the silver lining here is the Battlefield community as a whole has kind of come around since launch. You guys might remember that back during the launch of the game, especially during the beta and everything, it was like a witch hunt, man. If you had anything negative to say about Battlefield whatsoever, like everyone just hated you. Like you were getting bombarded with hate nonstop if you so much as sneezed towards Battlefield 6. But now take a look at this right here, man. These are going to be the responses to the article that Battlefield posted today on Twitter, and I defy any of you to try and find a single positive post of the bunch here. I scrolled for 5 minutes here and I did not see a single bit of positive feedback from players, and it's because DICE is just completely tone deaf. It's as if they don't play their own game. It's as if they don't read feedback. It's as if they just don't care about the future of Battlefield or the historic downfall of Battlefield 6. They ignore the actual problems with the game, and then they hyper-focus on shit that nobody is even really thinking about here, right? So what are the main points of contention within Battlefield, right? It's obviously map count. That's a big one. Map size is pretty huge. Weapon XP is painfully slow. The weapon count overall, I would say, is a point of contention. Portal being completely useless because there's no XP in there whatsoever and it's not supported whatsoever. That's a pretty big problem. Then I would also say it kind of ties into the maps, but vehicle viability as well, right? Like those are like the big problems with Battlefield 6 right now. Well, what did DICE decide to focus on here for Season 2? Here in the blog post, we can actually see it's mostly just weapon recoil, changing some daily challenges, like getting rid of pistol daily challenges, and then the battle pass is going to go a bit faster this time around. That's a good update, don't get me wrong, but that's pretty much it, right? Like they ignored the main problems with the game to focus on things like weapon recoil, which is causing them to do what they call a broad balancing pass across all the automatic weapons in the game. And this is like some straight up like political type shit right here, right? So like everybody's focused on the real important stuff, and DICE is over here like, well, we're gonna change recoil, but to do that, we're gonna have to buff and nerf a bunch of guns in the game, which is likely gonna break a bunch of things. And I think their hope here is people will be more focused on that and like all the things breaking and changing and everything, as compared to the severe lack of content that the game has right now. But I don't think it's gonna work, man. I really don't. They're gonna try and like deflect and ignore all these problems and trying to get away with it, but it's not gonna happen, man. It really isn't. And to be perfectly honest, I doubt that Season 2 is gonna bring any players back. When this news broke today, it did DICE no favors. They honestly would have been better off not saying anything whatsoever, because at least then, when the update went through, people would probably sign in just to see what was added. But now that we know it's gonna be 2 maps and 3 guns for the entire season, which is basically gonna be 3 months long, people just aren't gonna care. They're not gonna sign in. For me personally, I will sign in just because I'm a YouTuber. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna go in there and make my video and review it and go over the new content as it sits in the game. But if I'm being entirely honest with you guys, I'm really not that excited about it. I'm really not. I'm honestly at the point with Battlefield 6 where I would rather have, and this really does suck to say because I was so hyped for this game going into it, especially during the beta and the full launch and everything, but I would rather have, at this point, my $70 freaking back, because they bait and switched us, man. This was not the kind of support that fans expected, and it's definitely not the kind of support that the fans deserve. It's a slap in the face to the entire community, frankly, and I keep saying, you know, hopefully they'll figure it out. Hopefully things will get better in the future, because I do want this game to succeed, but after delaying Season 2 by a whole month and then dropping this bullshit on us, I'm not happy, man, and I don't think anyone else is either. They colossally fucked up when it comes to the post-launch support of this game. It's actually freaking mind-blowing, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up this video here today. I am very curious to hear what you guys think about this whole debacle down there in the comments. Don't hold back. Let me know what you guys think down there. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video here today. Be sure to sub to the channel if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.